what is an editor? What is that anymore? Because you have things like Canva. So how I discovered Canva was because I realized I couldn't rely on um, any of the designers that I knew to really give me the attention that I needed, because either one, like the ones who are like my really good friends or whatever, would offer to do stuff for me for free. Even I'd say, no man, let me pay you. They'll go, no, I couldn't charge you, no, let me just know what you need. But then I'd have to wait days and days and days and days and days to get what I need from you. And even the ones that I offer to pay, they're like the good ones, they're too busy making more money than I can pay them. So I was like, all right, you know what? I just need to get the job done. I just need to get the thing done. It doesn't need to be a master design. I'm not trying to submit it for an Addy or something. I just need to get the word out, and it just needs to look good. So here's Canva with all these great templates that I could load up my brand colors, I could load up my fonts, I could load up everything, and just find what I need, edit it to my specific look, and boom, bam, we're gone.
Right.
You know, for free, or I'll pay for like whatever little templates and that kind of thing.
Right.
And move on. And the same thing for. So I don't know if you've seen the promo video for Twin Island, but
yeah,
my social media person did it on her phone with an app on her phone herself.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah. I mean, for me, so I do a lot of the design work for Kafa and Nancy. I don't do Third Horizons design. Usually when we have the festival, we get an actual graphic designer.
And you guys have good designers too.
Right. And then even now for Studio Nancy, I'm not doing that anymore because we have an in-house graphic designer, and we just did the whole, launch of Uncivilized. I didn't do any of that designs. Someone who actually knows graphic design did that. But I still, so what I find, or where I fit in here, is that for the places where we can afford to pay a graphic designer, I do it. And yeah, I know it's a process, just like everything else. You gotta learn how to do it. You got to learn what works and what doesn't work, and it's by trial and error, because anybody going to graphic design school at this point in life. So it's like, it's trial and error, and it's understanding what you like and how you like interact with the world, and translating that, how you would interact with the world and with other people, and translating that into some kind of common language that people could, that when you put it out there, someone sees it and they're like, oh, I vibe with this, or or I don't. So and the software, yeah, I could see what you're saying about it being complicated and not needing to be, and the simpler the tools, the better. But I do find that the harder to use tools allow you more options, and at a certain level you need that. On a certain level, or when your work is going to be made at a certain scale, you need to have the flexibility of having more options. And when you're just starting out, it doesn't matter, because it's the technology is ahead of you and your capabilities. But then when you catch up to the technology, and you can like do this stuff very quickly, very easily, then it's like, okay, I need something that is more, that allows me to do more, because now I'm thinking of doing more, because now I can do this much, and now I start thinking of all the other things I can do.
But you have to climb that hill first. Like you have to like really struggle through and get to that thing. And I find that, like, I don't know, I think it's just my impatience. I think I'm so frantic every day, like in my head about all the things that I'm behind on. You talk about the technology is already ahead of you. My ideas are ahead of me.
Right.
And the things that I want to do are way ahead of me.
Right.
So I feel like if I have to stop and, well, not stop, but like if I have to learn how to edit, right, video, it's gonna inevitably take away some of my time and energy from other things. Because I have a friend, right, one of my very like best friends. She lives downstairs from where I am, right? and I've been watching her learn how to edit videos over the last few months just on her own because she's a painter and she's been publishing just videos of herself painting and talking about her work and
Right.
you know, just in order to do that, she's had to learn some basic video editing and just kind of like take it up a notch and up a notch. And let me tell you, she like I'll check in with her, let's say at 8 p.m. And be like, what have you been up to all? And she'll be like, I've been editing since 6 a.m. I've just been sitting editing all day. And she'll only like she'll be making a 5 minute video and only get like to about like 3 minutes in for the whole day because she has to
Right.
go Google and figure out how to do something, whatever. And I hear that and I'm just like, a whole day? You know
But
what happens in my life in a day?
with that right there, she not just editing. That is therapy for her. That whole process of editing her stuff is therapy for her. It is feeding a need that she probably didn't know she had.
Mm.
And now that she has discovered this process of editing, it's like, okay, now I can. It's like because it works like that too, right? It's like when I do like 10 million things in one day. But there's always the one activity that I find that I could just sit down for 2 hours and do, and it changes the entire um, vibe for the day.
What is that for you?
It is, it's one of two things. It's either reading, um, and reading nonfiction or poetry.
Oh, we've
It's
never
one of
talked about poetry.
huh?
We've never talked about poetry.
Well, we
I didn't
haven't
know you were into poetry.
somewhat. Yeah,
Okay. Wow.
yeah. So it's one of those two things, or it's designing something like fixing the website because so like we have a film festival coming up. We have to get films. We have to do. There's a lot of work that is involved in doing any of this type of stuff, and doing any of those little mundane tasks outside of whatever it is that has my brain going is what helps. So if I took a different life path and I learned how to be a carpenter or a mason or a painter or somebody like that,
Mhm.
that's what I would be doing to like cut through the other stuff that is going on.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, I need something that is manual, that needs attention,
Mm.
and for me to give it that
Yeah.
so that I could get out of my head, because I could spend the entire day in my head
Mm.
working on whatever it is I'm working on. So
So I like that whole idea of like something that's manual and that requires your attention to like little
yeah.
details. And I think that's what it is with my friend too, because I learned something about her the other day that when she was like in her early 20s or something, she had a job um, putting together books at a printery, and she's from Colombia. And I don't know, this is like a big printery, and like it was almost like a factory line kind of thing where her and a bunch of other girls would have to literally like fit pages together to
Mm.
print books over and over and over and over and over. So all day she just spent like fitting sheets
Right.
of paper into whatever template or something like that. And you have to count all the sheets and you get paid based on how many sheets you assemble or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
just the level
Right.
of detail and the level of accuracy that you need in order to do that.
Yeah.
The faster
Right.
you can assemble things and the more accurate, the less mistakes you make and stuff, the more money you can make. And she was
Right.
just really, really good at that. And she was like one of the best of it. Like just really, I was like, how do you do that? You know? And I realized that was probably one of the things that makes her, because I've watched her as well. Like for instance, she will spend the entire day in the hot blazing sun painting a mural. If you see, she's a tiny little bird-like thing. Eh? She's a little tiny girl, and she will stay all day painting a massive mural in the middle of town, and like all sorts of stuff happening around her, and she's just laser focused in on it, and just is it's the physical energy and the kind of you kind of have to get into this zone of it,
Mm-hmm.
and like hearing about things like that, I think that kind of helped to discipline her and helped to kind of train her to doing those little manual kind of things. So I see that and know I'm like, of course you have the stomach to learn video editing, because what other thing takes as much like
Right,
attention
right,
and tactile kind of focus as
right,
video editing.
right. Yeah, there's I've learned that there's something about that process of spending time to do something that is manual,
Mm,
at least for people like me who are, who are usually focused on the bigger picture all the time. It's good to get in and do the little fine detail type things at time. So like someone like her, she's an artist, right? So she's thinking conceptually all the time, or
mm,
for the most part around the art. And then there's the granular manual part of actually creating it.
mm.
And so it allows you to get out your head.
Yeah,
So
I see the
yeah.
benefits in that, because that's what I have to do all the time is think broad, because I
Mm.
have to always be thinking about so many different people and what they're doing in order to create one product. Like a dozen people have to be involved, and they're all doing different things, and I have to
Right.
find a way to make all of that kind of come together.
Right.
Everybody has to talk the same language. I have to kind of
Mhm.
be the go between all of it. So I don't get as much time. I really get time. I rarely get time to do a thing. So like we've kind of gotten into the whole thing already, but I wanted to start with I guess you just telling me how did you get involved in, like, first of all, how do you introduce yourself? Like, hi, I'm Romola, and I'm what? So let me tell you, I always talk about you as my producer. I always say that.
Uh-huh.
I say, oh yeah, my producer in New York, my producer, because I'm talking about our experience with Jeb.
Right.
That's kind of how I see you, and I like that. I like calling you my producer. Well,
That's
how do you refer
interesting.
to yourself?
I usually don't introduce myself as anything. I would just say I'm Romola. And leave it at that.
Oh, like share like a brand, like that's it.
Nah,
That's just it.
nah. It's no. So usually the context, sometimes the context would require that I say. But if it doesn't, I don't say anything. I just leave it at that and then see where the conversation goes. And then depending on where it goes, that will determine how much more of myself I reveal.
uh, so you're saying that sometimes the context depends on the context requires you to introduce yourself as different things based on.
Well, so listen, I am so I'm a Leo, right? And every single thing I read about Leos is that they love the spotlight, they have huge egos, and they are great leaders, and all of this stuff, right?
You're definitely a
I'm
great
an
leader.
I'm an anti-Leo in in the ways that people are Leos. Like I'm not a typical Leo. Um, so I actually have um, I actually, and maybe it's also my legal training. I just only give information that I think is necessary. Anything else comes out if it has to.
Wow. I
Except,
feel like maybe I need to train that way, because I feel like I overshare all the time.
well, so then I do overshare at times. In personal relationships, sometimes I overshare. That's my balance. So I have like a public outward facing thing and an inward facing thing. And my outward facing is you get just enough. And inwardly, I have learned to open up to open up more,
Hmm.
and sometimes too much, but I'm working on that. It's all about balance.
Yeah.
um but if I had to say who like who I am and what I do, I would say I don't even know.
So I
I would
like
say an attorney,
your
and then I would say so because that's usually the easiest thing for people to identify with, so I would say that.
that you're
And then I would say something along the lines of, and I work in film. I keep it vague,
okay.
um, because even though what I mostly do is produce,
Mm-hmm.
I produce films, I produce festivals, I produce whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mostly do. Um, but
Yeah.
I haven't started saying yet that I'm a producer.
Really? What do you need to see in order to make yourself a producer? Because
Um,
I mean,
I don't. I nothing. It's just I just
You took an
I think
award.
it's a reluctance on my part to claim something that I am still working through.
Ah, right.
So I mean, I have no problem claiming I'm an attorney because I went to school, I got a piece of paper, and I've been doing it for how long? Now, 14 years since I graduated.
Uh,
So I don't have no problem claiming that. But being a producer is something that I'm a little slower to like.
but don't you have producer credits on
Yeah, I
film?
do. I do. I do.
What else do you need? It's out
I
there
don't need
in
anything
the
else.
world.
I don't care about the world outside. It's about how I am. It's about how I engage with what I do,
Mm,
and I still see myself on the learning curve.
mm.
I still see myself there. So while I'm there, I'm going to say that I produce, but I probably wouldn't say I'm a producer.
Yeah,
I see the difference.
I feel it. This reminds me of do you know Alan Watts? He's a
No.
like I guess he's a philosopher or whatever, right? And
Okay, so I've heard of him. Yeah, yeah.
he talks about he has this really cool analogy where he says, you know, a lot of us are like raindrops wanting to be the sea. You know, like you're a raindrop and you are tormenting yourself, going, yeah, but I'm just a raindrop. What I want to be is the sea. I want to be the ocean. I want to be the sea. And it's like you look at that raindrop and go,
Right,
what do you think the sea is made of? Like you
right,
are it. That is it. You are
right,
you're a raindrop. You're part of the cycle of the ocean and of the water on the earth. You are that thing. And that I was meditating on that one morning as I was running, and like it hit me. I was like, I've been running away from it, calling myself a filmmaker and all this thing. Like, oh, no, the films and everything. But I'm just like, but I am. I'm a raindrop I'm a raindrop filmmaker, I guess. But that
right,
is what the sea is made of. It's made of everyday
right.
things that we're doing, you know? So that's kind of how I see it.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is
And
true, and I'm not gonna deny that. Yeah. Sorry. So I think what I see is that I am not an end result person. I don't really care what the end result is. So if the end result of what I'm doing is that I'm a producer, that's fine.
mm,
I engage with more um, the process.
mm, I feel it.
So I don't need the labels. I don't. In fact, I have many labels. Like if you start with my labels, that's a whole nother conversation. Um, but it's more about to me. It's more about the process and how I'm living. That matters.
um, so how did you get interested in Caribbean film and to this level? And when did that start?
Well, yeah, right. So it didn't start off at this level. Um, it started off very simply. I was, and I'm trying, for the life of me, I can't remember what the movie was that I was looking at, but I was at the movies in New York, um, looking at some Hollywood blockbuster and thinking, why can't I see Caribbean people on the screen? I want to see them. I want to see the stories that come with Korea. I want to hear my accent on the screen. Why giving these people my money every single time? Their story is the same thing. Like you could tell a Hollywood story. Something people good, something bad happens.
Yeah,
There's a whole big fight, and then either
yeah,
the person comes out okay or they're dead.
yeah.
It's one or
Same
the
that
other.
the model, everything must happen on a certain page and thing and
Right. So I mean, what makes the films what makes the Hollywood films exciting is that whatever set of circumstances they create for these people to deal with, right? That could make it interesting, or maybe the special effects makes it interesting. So you could throw a wrinkle or two in there. But usually the stories it's cookie cutter stuff.
same thing.
And
Yeah.
I got tired of it. So I was talking to a friend, Justin, and he was saying the same thing. I was like, why don't we let me just do something? And then it was like, what? So maybe we can find who is making films in the Caribbean and see if we could get their films to watch. You couldn't really find anybody, but we found an online distributor and asked them if we could get a film from them. And they were like, yeah, and this is how much it's going to cost. We were like, okay. So then we decided that we were going to start meetup was the rage back then. We can start a meetup group and see if anyone else wants to look at films with us. So we did that, and we started like a screening series. So then we had to go find a place. It's just all happened very organically. So it's like as we thought of things, we were like, oh, let's do this. So then we went to a store in Brooklyn that I used to go to a lot. A store called Nicholas. Um, and they sell all sorts of products for Black people: hair, skin, soaps, T-shirts, all this stuff.
Cocoa butter, yeah.
Oh yeah, that the incense, that type of store.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Sure, y'all could screw." I mean, we were asking her; she knew a place. She told us a place, and then before I left, I was like, "But wait, can we do it here?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course you could do it here. All I gotta do is move my stuff out of the way. I have a screen. We could put it up."
Yeah.
And we had a projector, and that was it. And so we were like, okay, we're gonna do it here. So then we went back. We started a meetup group. People joined. We had like 100 people join in like 2 days.
Wow. When was this?
And we said, huh?
When was this again?
What was that?
When?
2012.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it started in 2011. So all of these ideas and things started in 2011. Because we started, so then we said, okay, so we need to have a name, like what we doing. So we call ourselves Caribbean Film Academy. And to this day, people think that academy means school.
Yeah.
And they want to go to teaching, but we were modeling academy after the film academy.
Ah, okay.
Like, that gives out the Oscars.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool.
So we did that, and we got my stepson to design a little logo for us.
What do you have now still?
No,
Oh,
we're on our second logo, I think. Actually, maybe our third logo for CAFO.
okay.
And he did that, and then we organized a screening in Meetup, and we had it at this place, and we like 50 people came.
52.
It was the biggest. Honestly, it was the biggest screening that we had.
Yeah. 52 people.
And then we called the series Cinema Nights. So you can yeah. So we did that for a year. And then we kept doing it. And while we were doing that, we would meet filmmakers and we would show their films, and we would ask them what they do with their films after, they come out to the festivals and stuff like that. They were like, we don't really have anything to do with them. So then we started Studio Nancy. It used to be Anansi Studios. And then we were talking to someone about a logo design, and he came up with a logo design like on the spot. And the way that he made the design, it looked like it said Studio Nancy. So we were like, oh, that's actually cool. That sounds better than Nancy Studios. So then we switched the name to Studio Nancy.
Nice.
And I mean, it was all organic. So we do that. We started a blog where we would research film festivals that were showing Caribbean films and write about them. And by just by doing those three activities, we started to meet people. And in meeting people, we started to develop relationships. And in developing relationships, things started to grow until Jason in Miami, Third Horizon Media in Miami, heard about us and sent me a friend request on Facebook. And this is how these things work. He sent me a friend request on Facebook. And I was like, who's this guy? Well, okay, so I accepted his friend request. And then he was like, we just made a film. It got accepted into TIFF. We're going to TIFF, and then I'm going to Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival. Are you going to be there? Because I want to link up with you. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be there. So so we met at TTFF, and that was it. We hit it off, hung out the entire festival. You know what Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival is like.
Yeah.
Your vibes.
Once you have Dinky, once you have that party, it's like, yo.
Yeah. And that year there was like a bunch of us there. A bunch of us, meaning myself and Justin and Jason, and then filmmakers who we had made friends with over the years. And we all met at the festival that year, and it was lining.
Yeah.
All the time.
The beauty of events like that just bring everybody from their different corner together, and you realize, like, even though we're all kind of scattered in different places and doing different things, we're all the same. We all have the same obsession, the same passions, the same questions, the same ambition, everything. Yeah.
Right. And it's always good to find a community like that. So we found our tribe, and we came back to the States, and Third Horizon had applied for a grant to do a Caribbean Film Festival in Miami. We so far had been unsuccessful in trying to do a festival in New York, and it frankly was beyond our resources. And so he was like, "We're filmmakers, we're creatives. We don't really know anything about putting on a festival. You all been doing this, so can we work together and put on a festival in Miami?" And I was like, "Sure." And that was it. And now we are where we are.
Yeah.
4 years into this, and just it's just
But it's okay. It's all part of the experience, I guess. um, no, the emergence of a legacy, no, because you said you're 4 years in, and I think that you guys have been doing really impressive work. And I mean, okay, so 4 years, and what would you say? What would you say has been your impact? What have you accomplished so far? I mean, I know you still have lots that you want to do, but if you to look back objectively at the 4 years,
wow.
what would you say? How, like, I mean,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh man. I mean, I think I could. Okay, so first and foremost, I would say is that beyond ourselves, we have we have sort of crafted a community of people who we're on the same we vibe with,
Mhm.
right? So between Jason and I, we know so many. We have met and have become friends. So it's not just meeting people, right? Because you could meet people and it's fly by night type of stuff. But we've met and become friends with so many creatives, filmmakers, artists, creatives from all walks of life that enrich um, Caribbean creatives. That we are learning how to bring what they have to offer to everyone else. So if I could describe something as an impact, I would say it would be introducing the world and other Caribbean people to Caribbean creatives.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one thing I would say. And mind you, like I said, just like with you and I, once we meet with people and we vibe with them, they become a part of our community, they become a part of our group. They become, you know, family, for lack of a better way of saying it. Even looking at how the organization itself. So now we've merged. So now Third Horizon Media and CAFA have merged, and we're calling the organization Third Horizon. What started out as 4 people has now grown to 12 or 13 people. And we're all volunteers. We're
Nice.
all volunteers. And everyone has a day job. They're either an artist or they work for an arts organization or they work for themselves. They're freelance somehow. But they all like feel drawn to the work that we're doing and want to give their time to it. And they do in massive ways, in ways that we can't even we can't even quantify. And we tend to not have people around us who are not on that same wavelength, but really they just want to give back and support. And so I would say, I guess another impact would be in providing an opportunity for people who want to be a part of a community that is organized around supporting Caribbean artists, an opportunity to do that. Um, we can't pay because we don't get paid, because for us this is like a labor of love.
Mm.
And so although we are working on trying, because you can have this volunteer situation for a while, but you can't build it fully, make your organization capable of doing all the things it can do just on volunteer effort. And so we are working to get the organization, to get it sustainably funded.
Yeah.
Um, but that would be what I would say. Another impact is, and having Third Horizon Film Festival be named as one of the 25 coolest film festivals in the world. I think,
Really, I didn't know that. That's really awesome.
yeah, by Movie Maker magazine, which does this ranking every year.
Okay.
So
You can
I
sell it.
think having gotten that as a little nod is good because um it's Caribbean films that we show. And so, raising the profile of the films and the filmmakers we're hoping will have an impact on the industry itself.
It's treated.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so I've seen this in my work, right? In my day-to-day work, where we are a local agency, right? Marketing agency. And typically people here will we're the first of our kind. I mean, there are other people who do creative work, but in terms of like a full-on agency with like several studios and a marketing team and a traffic team and a AV team and that like properly set up that way, we're the first of that kind in St. Kitts. And so a lot of people don't fully know how to relate to us. What often happens to me, and this all the time, people come up to me and they go, "Who did you guys fly in to shoot those things?"
Right.
And I'll go, "See my team right over there. See them there, all low. And people, they're so accustomed to going elsewhere, right, to shoot stuff and whatever. What makes our work stand out and what makes us so sought after here is because we not just because we produce good work, but because we have the context, the local context. Now, you live in the Caribbean and you hire a cinematographer from the UK to fly down here and shoot something. Yeah, he's going to produce a good piece of work, because he's probably been operating on that high industry level for whatever. But he's not going to understand the nuances of catching Caribbean people when they point with the mouth.
Right.
Just the little kind of intricacies that make us who we are.
Right.
So when we get to tell our own story,
Mm-hmm.
we can tell it in the most authentic way, and we can tell it in ways that honor us and not necessarily are with like a foreign lens that doesn't fully understand who we are.
Exactly.
So that's
Exactly.
what I love about it.
Exactly. Which is why we love, we're niche. We only care about the Caribbean. A lot of people get into film and get into distribution or exhibition of film and stuff like that, and they want to reach the widest audience possible. So they want Caribbean films, they want African films, they want Indian films, they want the whole shebang,
Mm.
and they want to include all of that in the mix of what they offer. And for us, nah,
Mm.
it's just Caribbean. That's it.
Yeah. You didn't mention another one of your another part of your impact. It's right in front of you, me. I mean, no, because all right.
No. The film project, right?
How did we meet? Right, it was to the film
Yes.
project, Caribbean Film Project, and
Yeah.
I remember like I just saw it somewhere online. I didn't, as always, like I was just busy doing my own thing, but I saw a film contest and I forgot about it. I just saw it and I guess I made a note to myself and I forgot about it until either the night it was due or the night before it was due. And I got the notification on my phone saying, the film project is due. I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna do, like, fine, whatever. Let me just, how do I write a screenplay? And I did literally Google that, and I wrote this quick little thing and submitted it, and never thought about it until months and months and months later. In fact, you guys had sent me an email, and I didn't see it until a while because I
You're
just.
right. I mean, we're trying to reach you. We're like, what's up with this dude?
Can I tell you that, by the way, and now that you know me, you probably could attest to this, that is the perfect way to meet me, is to be trying to reach me for a while and you can't get through. That process, I can safely say, I mean, I don't know what would or would not have happened, but I can safely say that doing the film project definitely um, it springboarded me into filmmaking, and it forced me to kind of realize something that I already had, that I always had inside of me. Because and I was remembering the story about how the first play that I ever wrote and directed was when I was like 12 or 13 years old, in church. And I remember like going through the entire process of auditioning the actors and giving them their blockings, and which I didn't know what I was doing at the time.
Right, right.
So I'd always been interested in it, but never claimed it or recognized it in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And having to go through the process, because after the film was selected, we had our writing coaches or Eljon and that kind of thing.
Right.
Had to and Eljon was an experience, yo. Like,
Right.
yo, I need to hit her up again. That was such an experience. Eljon was like was like a coach. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like she's like, no, you cannot write like this. You have to do it like this way. You have to remember the thing and you have to apply yourself and you really have to show up for the process. Like I remember one time, she really she dragged all of my edges because I was just I don't know I was dragging my feet and I wasn't really applying myself to the to doing the edits the way and also I didn't really like the idea of having to edit my work according to somebody else's guidance. I didn't. That was, and also it was a new process for me of screenwriting. This process of screenwriting was so different from anything I'd written before. And I remember
Right.
Elton just snatched me up one day. She snatched me the hell up. She said, look, nobody is asking you to be here. Nobody called you. Nobody's forcing you to make films. The people who are making films, we are a set of driven, highly motivated people. Um, we're not waiting for anybody to give us permission. We're not waiting for anybody to motivate us. We're not waiting for anybody to to make us show up in the way that we have to. We show up because this is our passion and this is what we want to do. So if this is not what you want to do, I'm not wasting my time with you. I'm not wasting my time. You have to show up and you have to this is the work. This is the work. And that just got me together. I was
Right.
like, yo. And I think since that talk, honestly, I've approached my work in a different way. And I don't even know if she I don't think I've ever told her that how much impact that talk had on me. I should really tell her.
It would be really good to tell her that.
Yeah, yeah. And just going through the whole process and getting to the point of actually shooting Jeb, right? Um, getting on set, and I'll never forget this moment when I mean, Jeb was a whole thing, right? It took a couple of years just to get on set, and we're finally on set. We're finally in Nevis. Everything is assembled. You know, like I was also in producer mode because I had to pull all these things together and stuff. We're on set. This is the night of shooting, and I'm kind of like in this because I'd gotten so accustomed to just all right, organizing things and pulling all these things together that I guess I had forgotten or just didn't really grasp the fact that my work here is as the director. No,
Mm-hmm.
no is actually I have to direct this thing, and you said to me, "All right, take control of your set," and I was like, "Shit, this is real." No, no, I have to actually do the work of directing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What? And that was just such a life-giving moment for me
Mm-hmm.
because it pushed me into myself into and I really got a taste of I mean, I'd been doing directing in different ways before, but fully showing up on set now, where you have people who are all assigned to do what they're supposed to do, and everybody is looking to me as the director. It just switched on something in me, and I realized that was who I am, and that was what I wanted. That's what I'd always wanted to do. And
Right.
if I had not gone through the process and had the support and the kind of guidance and benefited from the vision that you guys had, I wouldn't have. I don't know that I would have experienced all of that. I mean, maybe it would have
Mm-hmm.
happened in some other way. It might have happened. It might have taken much longer. I just don't know how it would have happened because I wouldn't have had the kind of motivation. I would have had so many people depending on me to justify all the time that they're spending on me.
Right.
Eljon was very, very she's like, I'm a busy person. I'm taking hours out of my day and my week to sit here and guide you and coach you. Show up and do what you have to do.
Right.
So yeah, thank you for that.
Well, I'm glad to hear. I'm actually glad to hear it. In terms of impact, I wouldn't know this. You're telling me, so this is good. And I definitely say hit her up and let her know.
Yeah.
She would appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe I should actually interview her for this, behind the scenes. Um so 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 your impact has been great so far, and I know it's going to be even more as you go forward. What have been the challenges, or I'm sure there must be points along the journey where, I mean, were there points along the journey where you like, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if like certainly, like, for instance, in shooting Jeb, I've had a bazillion, and still sometimes I have moments where I just go, I might as well just go home and just do something else because this ain't working out. This is too difficult. This is too challenging. Why am I even here? Do you
Right.
have moments like that?
Actually, no.
Okay.
I don't. I don't. It and it's interesting you ask that question because I've never actually thought about it. But now that I'm thinking about it, I don't have those moments.
Mm,
Is it challenging? Yeah.
mm,
Like as an example, I am an attorney. I work for myself. So and then I run Third Horizon, right? So on any given day, I have to decide where I'm spending my time because one is volunteer and one is money.
yeah.
Um, and many days I find earning money losing to volunteering because that's where the energy is going, and it's why I can't keep a job, and I had to start working for myself. Um, but so I would say, they've been challenges in terms of being able to devote my full time and energy to the work that we do at Third Horizon,
Mm,
which I haven't been able to do because I have to work,
yeah.
so that I can earn money so I can live.
Yeah.
So I think one of the biggest challenges has been how do we get the work that we do in film to the point where this is what we're doing all the time, because it's like if we were able to accomplish this with giving not 100% of our time, 100% of our effort, but not 100% of our time, then what would happen if we're giving both 100% of our time and 100% of our effort? Like, how much more can we be doing?
Mm,
So I would say that that's been the biggest challenge, is finding that balance there.
yeah.
But I don't, even when things are, because I'm doing what I love to do, even when things are difficult, I don't, I don't want to quit, because it's like, I understand that difficulty is a part of the process.
Mm, mm,
So I just, okay, this is a challenge. How are we gonna deal with it?
yeah.
And that's usually my approach, is to look at every challenge or obstacle that comes up as an opportunity to learn and to do something differently.
Like, I've observed you to be a really good leader, right?
Okay.
I definitely saw that during the production of Jeb. I find that you're very, like, emotionally aware and sensitive, but also um, focused and clear and decisive and that kind of thing. I mean, like, how did you learn how to lead so well, especially like creative people? Because I think leading creative people is a little bit different from leading. I mean, everybody's creative, but like people who do creative work for a living, right?
Uh-huh.
Tend to be a bit more what, I know I'm generalizing, but like a bit more emotionally
Hmm.
sensitive and volatile. Everybody has ideas. People sometimes are attached to their ideas. They can feel away if you don't go with the idea.
Right, right,
Somebody isn't feeling 100 today. You might get a different level of work from them than you did yesterday. All that stuff. How do you, like? What are your keys to creative leadership?
right. That's a good question. Um,
I offered to send you these questions before, you said I don't need to.
no, I know that's good. I'm glad you didn't, because I didn't get to think about them. I'm thinking about them now, so my answer is going to be what I think.
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, it is something I learned um, by doing. So I didn't, even though so I started Caribbean Film Academy, myself and Justin, we started it. But we were also the only people that were working for it. So I was my boss and my employee same time.
Yeah.
And so by learning how to organize myself and hold myself accountable for whatever it is that I say that I'm going to do, that was the start of it. Then when I started working with other people, it came down. It then I had to draw on like life itself. So it's to me, it's all about self awareness. The more time you spend learning and understanding yourself and understanding who you are, the more you can relate to people. The more you will treat people the way you treat yourself.
Huh.
And
I see that.
so it's like
Yeah.
I find in a lot of instances where people are not good bosses. Let's say they get angry, they feel, they get threatened when their people are shining and doing better than them and stuff like that. Those people have some internal work, some inner work to do
Mm.
on themselves.
Mm.
And until they do that work, they're going to be the way that they are,
Mm.
right? So that to me, that's what it comes down to. It's like doing your inner work, identifying what your issues are, and dealing with them so that you're not putting them on anyone else,
Mm.
and creating the space that anyone who's in that space feels like they can be themselves and they're not being judged, um, and they're not unmatched or unrealistic expectations of them.
Mm.
And they, like, I find that people do their best under those circumstances when they are constantly fed and they're constantly motivated themselves. The motivation is not external, it's internal.
Mm.
To want to do what to want to work with you and to want to be a part of what you're doing.
Mm.
um, and when that type of energy is around me, I have to honor it, right? So if someone is going to give me their time that they could be using to do something else, because we're all volunteers, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is working, they have children, they have families, they have lives that they want to live, they're creatives, they want time to create, but they give me that time. That
Mm.
is like me, that's like, the Cain and Abel story when Abel gave of his flock in sacrifice to
Mm.
God. That's what I see. Like when someone gives me their time, I know what that time is, and I know that how valuable it is, so I respect it.
Yes. Yes.
So I would say that it starts from inner work, and I would say that talking about that vibe that we're talking about, everyone that we work with is like that. They're all on this journey of self-awareness. Some of them are there already, but a lot of people, that's how they approach everything that they do. So again, we vibe, and because we do, people don't feel threatened. They don't take things personally. um, when conflicts arise, you know people talk to each other. There's no burying it and then acting passive aggressively and all of that stuff. Like,
Mm.
all of that stuff has been rooted out. I
So
wouldn't even say rooted out. We didn't have to deal with it
that's
in
so
recent.
powerful. I hear the internal work, but I also hear that a lot of it has to do with the context and the environment that you've created as well. Because you said that when people are giving you their time, it sort of helps to characterize the way that you relate to them.
Right.
Um, and I don't think that I think that you probably relate to people that way anyway. But I'm sort of relating it to my own experiences, and working within a company structure, right?
Mhm.
So I think my perspective as having to be like creative director of like a marketing agency and having to deal with client deliverables and deadlines and all that kind of stuff. And it's a high pressure, high stakes environment,
Mhm.
and there's real failure at stake. I have to answer to clients. I have to direct an entire agency of people, multiple teams, to create one product, present that to a client who's spending their money, and um, the client has to get what they want. They also have to get more than what they were expecting. Um,
Right.
the team I have to deliver a success for the entire team, because people will look at the team as one. So Open Interactive created this. The company created
Mhm.
this. Is who we are. So I'm carrying the burden of how the company is received, our um, sustainability, because very much in this industry, you're as good as your last performance, right? So people are constantly looking at the quality of the work, and it's now become so much more competitive that we have to be outshining other people. So I have to not just focus on creating work, but creating work that is better than other people's work in a way. Our quality has to be better. The the creativity and originality of the work that we do always has to stand out. It always has to justify the money that we're charging people. All of these things. So within that environment, um, you know, yeah, it's great to cultivate. It's one we do operate on alignment because very much the people who work with us are very much we have similar ideals and that kind of thing, right? But you get in an environment like that, and sometimes I have to pressure people. I have to do that. I have to place high expectations on people. I have to let them know that you're not just here to play around and think this is real stuff that we're doing. What you do affects other people, the rest of the team. So I have to kind of sometimes drag people up and collar you. I have to kind of really be tough sometimes. I have to be approachable, and I have to be someone that people trust. They have to feel like they can come to me, ask me questions and that kind of thing. But at the same time, you know, and this has happened. This has happened unintentionally because I never asked to be in that position. Like how I got into this job was I just was talking to the principals one day, and they said, "It sounds like you're a creative director. Write yourself a job description and start on Monday." And I was like, "Really?" And then like within a week, I had the keys to the company vehicle. They popped off somewhere to Trinidad, and I had to manage a team of people I didn't know. So I've had to learn a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit of a like there's a kind of a reputation almost. Like one of my friends visited the agency once, and he was walking around and meeting the different teams and stuff, and just kind of looking over people's shoulder. And he came up to me afterwards and said, "Cleon, what have you done to these people?" He said, "Oh." He'd be in a room, like in the art room, and the designers are there working and stuff, and somebody would come by and see that, and it'd be like, "Yo, Cleon, see that? Make sure Cleon don't see that, because Cleon don't like gradients, and he coming back in the, oh, make sure he don't sit." Like they have this kind of like, so anyway, so I'm saying all that to say that like I with Twin Island though, Twin Island is a different kind of makeup, because I realized that with Twin Island, I don't want that. I don't really want the environment to have to have those stakes and to have so much external accountability that I have to kind of give up some of the things that I would rather do versus not do, and represent an external interest.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like with Twin Island, so far we've been working based on like really good partnerships. So there's a partnership that you and I have, right? Where we're screening things. But if I have to produce something, right, I can call up my favorite writer and be like, "Yo, I have a gig for you." I could call up my favorite DP and be like, "Yo, I have a really cool gig for you. You interested?" And we come together based on a genuine interest in that project. Because they will tell me no sometimes. They'll go, "Nah, I don't really want to do that," and check me again, another thing. So we'll come together based on that shared interest, because we all have a passion for whatever we see the coolness in what we're creating. And because we're not constantly working together all the time, because we don't always have these high stakes, high pressure, we can appreciate each other more, appreciate the moment, appreciate the time that we're spending. We're all interested in the project and the outcome of it. So I don't have to pressure people in that same way, and I don't have to, do that kind of thing. So I think the environment has a lot. How you cultivate the environment.
Right. And that is the work environment that we have, because we're all doing this because this is what we want to do. It's not anyone's job.
Yeah.
It's not a job. It's we're all doing. Yeah. That's really what it is.
But there's something I've been wanting, and I know this is going over the time, so we'll finish soon. But there's something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and that's money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What about it?
What about it? I mean, So I know that you're a nonprofit, right?
Uh-huh.
And you alluded to it earlier that like yeah, you're in this for giving. You have a deeper purpose than just making money.
Hmm.
But how do filmmakers in the Caribbean make money? Because
How
like
do filmmakers?
one of the things I pride myself on, and why I like calling myself a filmmaker, even though even though I don't have a film out with my name on it just yet, working on it, but I'm engaged in the business of filmmaking every single day,
Hmm.
right? I'm on a set. We're producing video content all the time. I'm always making, yeah, I'm making commercials, but we're also making short films about projects that the client's doing and that kind of thing. And it is a work environment, and we're getting paid every month to do this. So
Right.
I kind of I sort of pride myself on the fact that like yeah, I'm a working filmmaker and I make money through the business of film every day. And I have a whole team of people who are making money through the business of film. I mean, it's a different kind of thing,
Mhm.
but we're all filmmakers who are gainfully employed. Um,
Right.
how do we make a labor of love um, fruitful in a monetary sense as well as passion? How does that happen? Because
Ah, that's the $1 million question. But I'll say this, right?
literally.
Um, you have to play the long game, not the short game,
Mm,
and you have to be strategic. So you have to have talent because a lot of people make films, but a lot of people are not talented filmmakers. They're filmmakers, and so there's a difference. Um, and so you have to recognize where you fall in that. Are you a filmmaker or are you a talented filmmaker? Like, is there some extra special thing that you got that makes you unique? And most people think that they're talented, but the market does not. Like, you can also rely on market forces to inform your understanding of yourself.
yeah, it's true.
So market will give you feedback. You
Yeah.
need to take that in. But for talented filmmakers, well, for filmmakers, let's say in the group that we're considering not necessarily talented, you can make money off of your work. You if you understand what people like and you are able to give it to them. So you will be creative in the ways in which you communicate your ideas and in your films, and you know, networking, finding people who, and networking can be good and bad, right? So you can meet people and you can find people who will say, yeah, 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 your stuff is great, I'll take it. You see nothing, you hear nothing. So you definitely do meet unscrupulous business people who could take advantage of you. But I think ultimately it's the long game that you have to play. You have to build up to being able to earn money. You have to be clear about what your vision is for yourself as a filmmaker.
Mm,
And there are different types. So you have Tyler Perry, for example, who started off with plays. He used to have these plays, they toured all around the United States, and he gathered a humongous audience off of his characters in his plays. It was popular culture type stuff. People loved it. They came out to the plays in large numbers. So when he switched to film, it was like, boom, all those people now started looking at his movies.
yeah.
You gotta do something like that. You gotta find a way to engage with people on you have to grow your audience that you're building
Mm,
yourself. You have to get a critical mass of people interested in your work, and that doesn't happen with one film or two films.
mm,
It happens over time, or it could happen with one film if you have some kind of amazing idea,
mm,
um, and you get people hooked on that early enough,
mm,
right? But that's what you have to do. And then when you do have that piece of work that is a bankable piece of work that you can do something with, that people are interested in, people with money are interested in and they want to do something with, then even then you still have to play a long game, because unless you're snapped up by some Hollywood production company to direct a film or make something like that, the smaller people are not going to have the money to pay you for what you did. So they're going to offer you a deal, and that deal is going to be, give us your film and we'll split the revenue with you. You get some of it, we get some of it. And so you have to do that, right? So you have to build up your content, you have to build up your craft. You have to be a student of the craft. You have to become better as a filmmaker every time you make a film. You have to amass an audience as you're going along. And then you have to play the long game. Like the money's not going to come right away. It's going to come over time. And if you know the type of stories you want to tell, and you become very good at telling them, and you build your audience around them, they're going to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like record. It's kind of like music, right? In the past, everyone would be singing their songs and hoping for a record label to find them, snap them up, sign them, and then give them all this money to make records, and then they become rich. The film world is not anything similar, but there are people who are career musicians who never get signed to any big label, but they make a living on music just by playing in local venues around the country, smaller audiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely different business model, and you can earn a very, very good living just functioning in that way. So similarly with film, you have the model, you get snapped up by a Hollywood company or something like that, or you can figure out what works in your local area, and you can work that, and you can make a living off of selling your stuff.
Find your angle and work it. Yeah.
Find your angle and work it, and play the long game.
Yeah.
And don't expect that one or two films will get you where you need to get. If this is something that you want to do, if you want to make a living off of it, you have to be persistent and consistent and work on your craft. And then you have a good team around you. You collect a team of people around you who can give you the type of support that you need.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes a film good?
It's a very subjective thing.
I realized as soon as I said it.
Right. There are some elements that, if you go to film school, there are some elements that need to be in a film. Like if you're going to tell a story, it should have the arc. And your lighting needs to be on point, like the rules of lighting that need to be there. And there's sound rules that need to be there. Like you need to like have good sound. But it mostly comes down to the story. It mostly comes down to the story, and how you are able, and how the people who are going to watch your story connect with it, right? So to me, it's all about the connection is what determines whether or not it's a good film. It's because I look at some films and I'm like, that film is so much crap. There's a whole group of people on the other side over there that are looking at it and they're like, this is the best thing I've seen in a while, right? So it's about story and it's about connection. And then it's about the technical things like lighting and sound and acting and directing and all of those things.
I love how that stuff comes second.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, you can tell when a filmmaker makes a film, right? And they're coming from the place that artists come from, like it's the creative energy that is making the film. You can feel it. It's palpable. And they don't have to have a lot of money. They don't have a big crew. They don't have anything. You just watch the film, and whatever emotional connection the filmmaker has with their subjects and with the story, you feel it. And that to me is what is a good film. Nothing else really matters.
Yeah.
It's that connection.
Yeah. There has to be that, man. There has to be some level of, I don't know, man. Some level
Objectivity.
of well, no, it's not even that. It's more so just the fact that a director or a writer, anyone who's making a film, in the middle of all of the things that happen around a film, right? The production process that can be so complicated and multifaceted, and so many things come together to make it, on set, and it's so much chaos kind of happening around. Yet you're still able to reflect that emotional connection, to really to tell the story still, because I think that's what happens a lot of the time, right? Very often the execution of the film can, or whatever the work is, can detract from the story and from the true nature of it,
Mhm.
because the lighting and the
Right,
sound and all these things have to happen, and then you just make a film, and then you forget to tell the story and to
right,
hit that note on the head and to really
right,
get the
right,
thing from the actor that you really
right,
really need,
right,
and to whatever that thing is.
right,
um Anyone who's able to do that in the middle of all of what's happening, I just find that to be remarkable and fascinating.
right. Exactly, exactly. Because yeah, because you know what it takes to make a film, and you can easily get distracted with the shininess of the final product and forget that emotional connection.
Yeah. And
And
sometimes
all
it's one little thing. Sometimes it's such
right,
a small thing that has to happen, but you forget that, and that's it.
and off camera because I
Uh,
and you off recording. Don't share this. Don't
okay,
share this. What I'm going to tell
fine,
you.
fine, fine. I'll keep it until this point so people don't know what the hell is she talking about.
Right. the the films we opened up Third Horizon with this year. We opened up the festival, and this is something that we do, right? We don't follow rules very well. Actually, you could say this. You could keep this. We don't follow rules very well. We do what feels right at the time that we're doing it, and we're doing that from a place where we're all checking in with ourselves on whether or not it feels right. And if it feels right to us inside
Yeah.
collectively, then we're doing it.
Mm,
So
mm.
off again. The films opened up Third Horizon with this year. Those films are a perfect example of. So we opened up the festival with 3 short films instead of a feature film, which is what everyone does.
Okay.
But those 3 short films are a perfect example of what I mean by um, stories that capture emotion and share that with an audience in a way in which they can connect with it. All 3 of them.
Wow.
That filmmaker is amazing, and these are his first films. He's never made any films. These are his first films.
So it's one filmmaker, and it's
One filmmaker and 3 films.
from, wow. What are they?
Ah, so they're films about Haitian. He's Haitian, and they're films about. I don't know. I don't know if you've heard of these Haitians who left Haiti and they went to Brazil, I think, to work on a road, and then when they were done, they wanted to come to the United States, so they went to Mexico, and they're in Tijuana. So my battery's on 13. Just letting you know.
Okay,
Uh,
well,
they were in Tijuana, and right, waiting for their chance, went to the embassy and be processed to come here, and then Trump got elected.
ooh,
They're stuck in Tijuana. So you have this community of Haitians having now to figure out how to live in Tijuana, in Mexico. And he basically went there. 2 of the films were recorded there. But the way that he did it, like no one, people would just come in with their cameras and they make a very objective story. Oh, these are the people, and you can tell it's an outsider's gaze.
yeah,
The way he chose
reportage.
to tell the story is like you're completely immersed in the lives of these people, completely immersed. And it makes perfect sense to tell the story that way. The third film was made in Cuba. There is a significant community of Haitians living in Cuba. And even though they're now into several generations and they speak Spanish, they're still Haitian.
Mm.
Again, amazing.
Oh, that sounds really, really cool. And like the Caribbean is filled with stories like that. Like even in St. Kitts, we have a large population of um, persons from Domarep,
Right,
and we have a whole community to the point now where some national broadcasts have to have now a Spanish translation
right,
because of the size of the community,
right.
and they're all Kittitian because they I don't know, generations back,
Mm-hmm.
Kittitians went over to Santo Domingo to work on plantations there, and stayed there, and had families and had all sorts of stuff, but still have connections over here.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people know that the situation is not so good over there. They're coming over to St. Kitts where they have roots and
Right,
setting up I mean, they have grandparents and that kind of thing that live here, they're from here.
right,
Um,
right.
and we've had to sort of accommodate them in a way, and think. And now what you're having is children going to school whose first language is Spanish, and how do they now relate to locals, and how do we kind of accommodate them in our culture? Petitions are typically very xenophobic. We don't like foreigners, but we're having to kind of deal with them from a policy level and from a cultural level as well. And therein lies so many stories that are just waiting to be told.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
so.
Yep. Honestly, yep.
Okay, well, last thing, because you're on 13% now. Probably
Well, 11.
there you go. I guess right. What are you working on now, and how is that going? No,
Oh Lord.
I knew that would be a big question for you because I know what you're working on.
All right. Well, with the pandemic, we have we developed last year. We developed a 3-year strategic plan for the organization. With the pandemic, we have to revisit that strategic plan. So that's the biggest thing. So right now, like on my plate right now is applying for grants so that we can get funding, and we can have and because we're working towards an organization that is sustainably funded. So that's the biggest thing. And grant and having to apply for grants it's a immensely time consuming activity because they want so much information and they want to make sure that you're going to manage their money the way that you should. So there's that. And then we're working on the second iteration of the Caribbean Film Project, which we're going to call Third Horizon Forward.
I love
So
that.
we're working on developing that. And we're working on really on turning Studio Nancy into a real distribution company. Like we've been sort of at the same place for the past few years, slowly growing the library and slowly growing our relationship with filmmakers and slowly growing our capability to do more with the content that we have. So we're really going to put now with the grant funding that we're applying for, we're gonna try to apply for some grant funding to use to build this out some more and go after real opportunities for distributing films from the filmmakers whose films we carry.
Okay. Oh,
live screening or anything, and also a live screening of the newest film that we're releasing through Anansi. It was amazing to experience that live cast yesterday. And so we're going to be planning a few more of those. They take a lot of work too. It's just like producing a live event.
Yeah.
Lord, but it's fun. And to see and to have the level of interaction that we had, and to see all the comments from people who tuned in, and we had people tuning in from all over the world. It was
nice. I'm really glad that it went well. Like,
yeah.
That's so excellent to know. Is the Q&A? I mean, I know the film wouldn't be like, but is the Q&A available online, or is the?
Yeah, we're gonna take down the live stream today and edit the Q&A and put it back up. And the film is available still on the site. You can watch it for free for this until next Saturday.
Okay.
So you can just go to Studio Nancy website and click on it, and you can watch it.
Okay, excellent, good. I love that. Wow. Well, I mean, it's been 2 hours. Thank you so much for your time and for. This has been, every time I talk to you, you know, it's always I always have these eye openers and these moments of reconnection to what I'm doing and kind of reaffirmation in a way. And I've learned so much from you over the years, and I continue to learn from you, you know, and I really appreciate that, you know, about our relationship and our connection.
Right.
I can't wait for us to make some more stuff together.
Me too. Honestly,
really
I love working with you. So.
Likewise. And
for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing with me and, you know, spending your Sunday morning with me out in the cold. Are you still locked out? Yeah. Has anybody gotten out?
Yeah, my nephew came in and out. I don't know if he left the door open though. I'll see now.
Okay. I hope so. So yeah, thank you so much.
All right, man.
And have a great weekend.
You do too.
All right. Bless.
All right. Yeah.